afternoon, guys. Let's talk today about confidence. Confidence in the buying process is so crucial. I actually was in a business yesterday, and I had this conversation with a person, and we were just talking back and forth, and I was asking her where she lived and different things, and so she said to me she was renting. Now, one thing I know for sure is that rent is not going down on anything, anywhere. The rent is just continuing to go up. And so I said, do you own or you rent? And she said, oh no, I would never be able to buy. Something to think about that's huge when you're thinking about, will you ever be able to buy? And that is confidence. First of all, you have to believe that if you are paying rent every single month on a home that you are never going to own, you are paying 100% interest. Okay? So people say to me, I'm not going to buy right now because the interest rates are too high. Guys, the interest rates right now are average. In the 80s, the interest rates were in the high teens and even into the 20s on a home. That's a fact. And then COVID came along and the interest rates were in the 2s and 3s, but what people don't realize is, number one, that wasn't reality. And number two, lots and lots of people who bought homes with interest rates in the 2s and 3s also overpaid drastically for lots of those homes that they purchased. And I'm talking, some people paid way above appraisal. Some people paid 10, 20, 30, 40,000 above list price because there wasn't a whole lot of inventory and the rates were low, and so everybody wanted to buy. So it's all relevant. Right now, homes are sitting on the market longer. Sellers are more open to negotiate. Therefore, you're not paying over what the list price is most of the time. So when you're talking about buying a home and you're not sure that you can buy, confidence is absolutely huge. Number one, if you have a job and you have absolutely no reason why you should not be able to buy a house, there's none. Your credit does not have to be perfect. In fact, it doesn't even have to be good. But what's crucial is that you have to believe that when there's a will, there's a way, and you have to believe that you can do it. And so if you want to buy a house and you're not even sure where to start, give me a call and let's have a conversation. But what I'll tell you is this. Most people do believe that you need 20% down to buy a house. That is absolutely the furthest thing from the truth. And it's absolutely what I believed before I got into real estate. I just always believed it was the misconception, and maybe way back in the day it was the case, that you needed 20% down to buy a house. I have probably closed in the last 4.5 years over 300 deals on homes. Over 300 families I have helped. And probably less than 3 of those people put down 20%. And that's because they chose to. They did not have to at all. So a conventional loan, which is a very common loan, requires about 5% down, 3% down if you're a first-time home buyer. An FHA loan is 3.5% down. An RD loan, which a lot of people call a USDA loan or rural development loan, is 0% down. A VA loan is 0% down. And it's not a gimmick of any kind. It is absolutely just how the lending laws work for those particular loans. It's a great thing for home buyers. It's absolutely a great program for home buyers that you do not need 20% down. Now, if you have a lot of money saved, you can put down as much money as you want to, but it's absolutely never mandatory. Now, on land, that is different. If you're just buying vacant land, the lowest percentage down that I've ever found with the bank was 15% down. There are some cases every once in a while where banks are doing some promos and you could put like maybe 0% down or 3% down. But for the most part, the lowest I've ever found on just vacant land is 15% down. But confidence is absolutely huge. If you want to buy a home, you do not need perfect credit. You do not need 20% down. It's actually probably easier in some ways to buy a home than it is to buy a car. It's different, but it's a process. But if you are thinking about buying a home, and especially if you're renting and you feel like, you know, it's a time where you want to quit throwing money away, because that's what you're doing when you're renting. You're paying 100% interest on a home that you're never going to own. And I tell you, a lot of times I hear about people who have said, I'm doing a lease to own, or I'm doing a lease purchase. Be very leery of those kinds of deals, because lots and lots and lots of times they never pan out. In fact, I really don't know of any that ever have come to fruition, that have actually ever panned out. So be very leery if a person is renting a house to you and says it's going to be lease to own or rent to own or whatever the case may be. On a rental, you are absolutely throwing money away. And believe me, there are always times, probably in everybody's lives. When I was right out of, my dad passed away when I was 19. I was homeless. I did not have anywhere to go. We had to sell his house. I absolutely had to rent an apartment for a good bit of time until I was able to I bought my own little trailer when I was 20. It happens. There are absolutely times where you just have to rent. But it should not, in my opinion, be long term if you are able to use that same money to purchase a home. So having confidence in the fact that if you decide that you want to buy a home, having confidence in the fact that you can absolutely buy a home. There are very, very few people that cannot buy a home. I would say people maybe without a job, or people that switch jobs all the time. You do need to be able to prove steady employment. You don't need much of a down payment at all, and we can have a conversation about that. But first of all and foremost, just believing that you can buy a home, and then starting to prepare for those things that you need to do in order to buy a home. Those are so important. But just believing that you can achieve it is where it's going to start. So the person I was talking to yesterday, like I said, she said, I'm never going to be able to buy a home. I'm always going to have to rent. Well, guess what? She's probably true. That's probably exactly right, because that's exactly what she believes. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe something, you're going to achieve it. So by her saying, I'm never going to own a home, I'm always going to have to rent, that she's designed her own reality right there. That's true. So if you believe that you can buy a home, then you're going to figure out a way to get it done. And it would start with, I would tell you, by getting in touch with a realtor who you know, who you like, and who you trust, and give them a call and say, I am thinking about potentially buying a home. What do I need to do to get started? And I would love to help you. If you don't know of anyone, or let's say you know of a realtor who's retired and they don't do a lot of business, or you know someone that only buys or sells a few houses a year, and that's not the person you want. You want somebody on your side who buys and sells a whole lot of homes all the time, and who is well versed in negotiating, and who has lots of people on their team that are mortgage brokers who specialize in getting you the absolute best type of loan for your current situation. There are actually plenty of lenders who help people who do not have great credit. There are lenders who specialize in veterans. There are people who specialize in FHA loans, all the different types of loans. Lots of people think a bank is the best place to get started. That's usually not the best place. The bank, or a bank, usually requires 20% down. So it starts with believing that you can do it, and I promise you it absolutely is doable. I have worked with so many people in buying a home, and many of them probably shouldn't have, but they did. So it's not as hard as you think it is. So if you have questions, if you are thinking about buying, I'd love to have a conversation with you. I'd love to help you buy a home. And of course, if you're a seller, there is absolutely never, ever enough inventory on the market for the buyers that are looking. There's never enough inventory. So if you're thinking about selling, I'd absolutely love to help you get it done. Give me a call, let's have a conversation, and let's get it on the market. Y'all have a great day. Take care.